Let's fill the gap and write a bridge that brings us from here to here. In the last video, we wrote an intro and an epic climax for track 1 of my upcoming EP OMICRON. We now want to build up energy and develop the elements from the intro. Because it's important to stay cohesive and not ignore everything we presented to the listener early on, we can copy a lot of the previous material and ramp it up. I copy-paste the second half of the intro, where most of the musical ideas of the track have been presented once, and duplicate it to reach 16 bars for our build-up part. So, what can we ramp up? These 3 bass synths from the intro, for example, play fractions of the final melody that we defined when writing the main building block for the track in the last video. Now it's time to develop the melody to its full form. We further increase the intensity by doubling the melody an octave above and cranking up that mod wheel. Together with the already existing elements, it sounds like this. I want to introduce an ambient 16th note arpeggio that sits in the back of the mix and adds movement to the build-up. For that, I write a downward and upward arpeggio in the step recorder that opens and closes with the mod wheel. To fill out the stereo spectrum a bit, I pan them to the opposite sides. We need to take care that our main motif is now not overshadowed by all the new elements we introduce. That's why I reinforce these 5 notes with a rhythmic synth. Also, let's strengthen that arpeggio layer a little bit with another synth. I would say there are no fixed rules on how to make your track grow with additional instruments and effects. Be aware of the balance between high, mid and low frequencies and make sure everything is spaced out evenly. When looking for effects, I usually browse my libraries until I find something that inspires me and, if necessary, I'll EQ it so it finds an empty spot in the track's frequency range. For example, I found this interesting high percussion patch in Keep Forest's Devastator and want to build a little pattern with it. First with 8th notes and then accelerating it to 16th to increase the drive. Before we add the percussion, this is what all the synth and total sound design elements sound like together. Now, for the percussion, we don't want to go full ham yet. An ambient groove is enough. I'll combine 2 high ticking loops with a drum groove from Damage 2 and spice it up further by adding my own tom accents. These accents will come back in the climax. We're using low velocities so the percussion stays in the background and can be turned up later. Let's add a simple strings harmonics line. And copy-paste the bass synth melody for a viola ostinato. All elements together with synth, tonal sound design, percussion and strings sound like this. There's one more thing we need until we can hit the climax. A short part that acts as a ramp for the epic resolution of the track. This ramp should take away some of the elements we grew accustomed to, so we can bring them back later in a spectacular fashion. No more main motif in the following 8 bars. Instead, we focus on the synth and strings ostinato with a relentlessly steady increase in dynamics and expression. Towards the end of the ramp, synth and violins change up from the repetitive ostinato pattern to an intense upwards movement that is then followed by a dramatic 2-bar pause. It's that silence before the storm, where you hold your breath in anticipation of what's to come. And then it all resolves. That huge spaceship whose arrival has been teased for 2 minutes for the entire song finally breaks through the clouds with a roaring sound, and you are speechless and overwhelmed by the grand scale of the scenery. So, how to build up a trailer track? I would say find that balance between adding new exciting elements and developing what you already have, and take away key elements to bring them back larger than ever. Are you curious how this track will wrap up? One thing I can tell you, it'll hit hard. Stay tuned for the release of my EP OMICRON, and I'll see you in the next video.